How are you feeling at this point in the school year? I was having dinner with other teachers and asked them what's happening in middle schools these days. First, I told them how much I respect middle school teachers because their job is really hard. What they told me was surprising. I teach high school, and this year's 9th graders are having more trouble than ever before. They're not just acting like typical teenagers, they really struggle with basic things. Many can't write complete sentences. When they make small mistakes, they often get very upset and tear up their work instead of just fixing it. My friend Sarah, who teaches 8th grade, says her classroom is very messy and hard to control. Her students are always on their phones and don't want to do any work that's even a little bit hard. Parents aren't helping much either. She tries her best to make things easy for students, but they still won't try. Another teacher, Ben, told us about giving his students a simple word test. When everyone did badly, he taught the lesson again and gave them another chance. But when they took the test again, most students did even worse. The stories got worse. One of Sarah's students wouldn't do a matching exercise because she said it would make her wrist tired. Sarah feels sad because she doesn't know how to get her students ready for high school. Ben also has trouble getting students to take notes. He only asks them to write things down once a week for 15 minutes and goes very slowly. But students say using paper is too much work, or that he writes too fast. Some students would rather throw away their notes than fix a mistake. I don't know what to say about any of this. What's going on here? Why is it like this? Story 2. Every day, I try my very best to teach my students. I speak loudly and clearly, so loud that other teachers can hear me from the hallway. But when the school leaders come to my classroom, they tell me in front of all my students that I'm not teaching well enough. That really hurts my feelings. Let me tell you what happens in my classroom. I spend time with students, explaining things over and over, which is okay. That's what teachers should do. While I'm helping one student, other kids start talking to each other. The students I'm helping often stop listening after less than a minute. Sometimes I give them an answer just to see if they're paying attention, and they're not. The weird part? These same students tell the school leaders that I never help them. That's not true. I help so much that my voice gets tired from all the explaining. One day when I was out sick, the school leaders taught my class. None of the students did their work, but somehow they still said it was my fault. They said I never told the students what to do, even though I do every single day. I even showed them proof that students understand what I teach. I told them about one student who could explain everything back to me perfectly, but still wouldn't do the work. They just said, "Well, he can't focus." That's not fair. They keep changing the rules on me. I work really hard every day to help my students learn. It makes me sad when school leaders tell me I'm doing a bad job, especially in front of my class. Sometimes I wonder if I should keep being a teacher. Or maybe the way schools work needs to change. Story 3. Looking at my computer screen makes my eyes hurt. I've found another essay written by AI instead of my student. I'll need to talk to them about it again. This is okay, I tell myself, but it really isn't. My coffee is cold, and it's getting dark outside my window at home. This week I've spent more time looking for homework written by AI than actually teaching my students. Being an English teacher online used to be different. I used to spend my evenings making fun lessons about poems and helping students write better. Now I'm like a detective, always looking for signs that I wrote my students' homework instead of them. My friend Sarah keeps telling me to take breaks. "You're working too hard, May," she texts me. She's probably right, but I feel like I have to keep working. I start my next video call. James, one of our school's best basketball players, appears on my screen. He looks guilty, like other students who let AI do their work. "Hi, James," I say calmly. "Let's talk about your homework." It's always the same. First, he says he didn't do it. Then he makes excuses about basketball practice. Finally, he admits he used ChatGPT to write his essay. My head hurts. This is the 6th or 7th time this month I've caught students using AI. Meanwhile, students who write their own work, like Lily, who wrote a great paper about a book, are waiting longer for me to grade their work. The hardest part? Tomorrow there will probably be another student who used AI instead of writing their own work. It's like playing a game of whack-a-mole. But instead of plastic moles, I'm finding AI-written essays everywhere. Sarah texts me again. Want to get dinner? You need to leave your office. I look at all the work I still need to do. More essays to check for AI and more students to talk to. But maybe Sarah is right. Maybe I need a break. Okay, I text back. But let's not talk about school. When I close my computer, I see how tired I look in the dark screen. But tomorrow's a new day, another chance to help students, even if it means finding more AI-written essays before I can help the students who are really trying to learn. Maybe this is what teaching is like now, helping students understand why it's better to write in their own words instead of letting AI do it for them. One student at a time. I get my coat and keys. The essays can wait until tomorrow. Right now, I need to talk to a real person, not another computer program. Story 4. Is it normal for schools to have pretend elections? One morning, I watched my daughter get ready for school. She was at that age where she thought everything was simply right or wrong. As I fixed her collar and checked her lunch, I asked her, "Do you remember what we talked about voting?" "That it's private," she said, "and important." At her school, they set up 2 computers for a pretend election. One was wrapped in red paper, the other in blue. When my daughter came home, she told me all about it, how they had to vote in front of everyone, even though real voting is supposed to be private. She chose the blue computer because that's what felt right to her. In our small town, things can be tricky. Everyone has strong opinions about politics, and sometimes grown-ups try to get kids to think the same way they do. I worried about this pretend election. Was it really teaching kids the right things about voting? "Is it okay?" my daughter asked, noticing I seemed worried. "Sometimes," I told her. "Grown-ups try to teach important things in ways that might not work well. What matters is that you thought about your choice and made it yourself." That night, after she went to bed, I thought about writing an email to her teacher. I was concerned about this pretend election. It seemed more like pushing kids to pick sides than teaching them about voting. I worried about how the kids who voted for the losing side would feel tomorrow. In the end, I didn't write the email. Instead, I decided to keep talking with my daughter about how voting and democracy are about more than just picking sides. I wanted her to know that being kind and thinking for herself were more important than which computer she voted at. But I really want to know, is it normal for schools to hold mock elections? Story 5. Charter school teachers need better pay. I'm an art teacher at Valley Charter Academy, and I'm worried about my paycheck. We get paid much less than teachers at regular public schools, about 20% less. The school leaders say it's because they get less money from the state, but some things don't make sense. For example, our school spends $90,000 on field trips. Students go on trips twice every month. Meanwhile, teachers like me have trouble paying our rent. The school has money coming in from many places. There are fundraisers all the time. Big companies like Nike give us money for new equipment. Parents at our school have good jobs and can afford to help. Most give $800 to the school each year. Many drive expensive cars when they drop off their kids. At my old school in California, teachers got paid more than public school teachers. They wanted to hire the best teachers they could find. But here in Oregon, it's different. I'm trying to find out what other charter schools pay their teachers, but it's hard to get this information. Some of us are thinking about starting a teachers' union to help us get better pay. I took this job because I had just moved here and needed work quickly. Art teacher jobs are hard to find. I'm still looking for other jobs, but for now, I need this one to pay my bills. One more thing. I have dyslexia, which means reading and spelling can be tough for me sometimes, but that's okay. I show my students that having learning differences doesn't stop you from being a good teacher. In fact, it helps me understand what some of my students are going through. Even though the pay isn't great, I still come to school every day ready to teach, but I hope things will get better soon. Story 6. What changes would make schools better for everyone? I walked into the teacher's lunchroom feeling exhausted. The morning had been rough, and all I wanted was to sit with my friends at our usual table by the window. At least the warm coffee would help. I slumped into my chair, not even trying to hide how tired I was. Mike looked up from his lunch and noticed right away. Rough morning? He asked. After teaching science for so many years, he could always tell when something was wrong. You could say that, I sighed, pulling out my sandwich. I had to tell them about my terrible morning. I just finished a parent conference that shouldn't have even happened. The mom was so angry because I asked her son to redo an essay he clearly wrote right before class. Lisa jumped in with her own story, rolling her eyes. Parents these days. Yesterday, one of them demanded that their kid take a test for the third time. When I explained our policy, she threatened to go straight to Principal Watson. That's exactly what I mean, I said, feeling frustrated. We spent years learning how to teach, but lately, it feels like our expertise means nothing. Parents want to remove every single challenge their kids face. How will they ever learn to handle real life? I listened as my colleagues shared their ideas for making things better. Rachel suggested having all main classes in the morning, which actually made a lot of sense. Tom brought up the need for longer breaks between classes. Mike mentioned his overcrowded physics class, and I couldn't agree more. 34 students was way too many. And we need proper placement testing again, I added, thinking about my AP Literature class. I've got students in AP Literature who aren't ready because anyone can sign up. We need prerequisites back. As lunch was ending, Lisa started packing up her things. The crazy thing is, none of these ideas are radical, she said. They're just logical. And treating teachers like the professionals we are, I added with a small smile, feeling a bit better after sharing with my friends. But the question still remains, what changes would make schools better for everyone? Story 7. They can't be this lazy, can they? I look at my empty computer screen, watching the little line blink where I should be typing. I've been a teacher for 6 years, but I've never seen anything like what's happening now. The students are like empty shells, I say quietly in my empty classroom. I push my hair back and think about what I'm seeing. It's not just 1 or 2 kids anymore. It's spreading like a sickness. I have students who should easily pass my class just by showing up and trying a little bit. But they don't even try. They just sit there doing nothing, like their minds are somewhere else. Many people blame phones. Yes, those little devices that buzz in their pockets all day long, making them feel good for a moment. But I think there might be something else wrong. Maybe they have ADHD that nobody has spotted. Maybe they're having trouble getting started on their work. Maybe we're missing something important. Even the young kids just 7 years old are acting like bored teenagers. But it's not just that they're bored. It's like they're not really there at all. The scariest part? These kids don't care about anything. Nothing at all. Some students don't even like any fun things. No books, no movies, no TV shows, not even video games. They just eat, sleep, and scroll on their phones. I keep wondering, what will happen when they grow up? When their mom and dad aren't there to wake them up, feed them, and remind them to do things? They can't just live like this forever, can they? Every time I try to help, they just say, I don't know. Those 2 words are like a big wall between us. I still haven't figured out how to break through it. Yesterday, I texted my old college friend about this problem. They said something that made me think, it's not just phones, they wrote. It's bigger than that. Remember when going to school meant you could have a better life? Parents used to tell their kids this all the time. Schools did too. But now, many people think college is a waste of money. Schools let kids pass even if they haven't learned anything. From kindergarten to 8th grade, everyone moves up to the next grade. Why would kids care about learning if we've taught them they don't have to? I sit in my empty classroom after school. I look at all the empty desks where my students should be working hard and thinking big thoughts. Instead, they just exist. They've already given up, and I don't know how to help them believe in something, anything, again. How do you help someone who doesn't want help? How do you make someone care when they've never learned how? These questions keep me awake at night, and I still don't have any answers. Story 8. Is it bad that I feel like crying every day? Teaching was supposed to be my dream job. At 25, I was excited to start my career, but my 9th grade ESL class has become my daily challenge. Picture this: 30 students, constant chatter, and a classroom that feels like it's spinning out of control. Every day, I walk into that room with hope, yet within minutes, the background noise starts. Before I can finish explaining a concept, whispers turn into conversations. The noise grows and grows, drowning out my voice and any chance of learning. 5 students are the main disruptors, but their energy spreads like wildfire through the classroom. The others join in, and soon the whole room buzzes with chaos. I've tried everything I could think of: call and response techniques, silent signals, clear rules with consequences. I enforce them consistently, but nothing seems to stick. Once, I even stopped everything to review all the rules and consequences. It worked, for 2 days. My lesson plans are carefully crafted. I break down explanations into bite-sized pieces. I include movement activities to help them release energy. Each lesson has variety and interaction built in. But the constant interruptions shatter any rhythm we build. Now I dread walking into this classroom. After each session, I sit alone, fighting back tears of frustration. Teaching shouldn't feel this way. I'm running out of ideas, running out of energy, and desperately seeking help. This isn't just about classroom management anymore. It's about finding a way to reach these students before I lose my passion for teaching entirely. Story 9. Should I leave teaching? I need to make a confession. I used to judge teachers who left the profession, not because they were abandoning their students. No. I judged them for walking away from what seemed like the perfect package: summers off, holidays free, solid benefits, a reliable pension, and job security. I never imagined I'd be standing where they stood. Yet here I am. For 15 years, I've taught middle school English language arts. That's my specialty, certified for grades 7 through 12. The thought of getting another certification doesn't appeal to me, but I've reached a breaking point. Teaching middle school ELA has become impossible. If you're in this field, you understand exactly what I mean. The system is crumbling around us. My district is falling apart. Every day, I face an impossible task. When I inevitably fall short, I'm the one who takes the blame. I simply can't continue this way. Those of you who've already made the leap, I need your insight. In your new careers, do memories of teaching still pull at your heart? Has anyone regretted their decision to leave? We used to talk about having summers off, but even that's an illusion now. My district loads us with so much asynchronous work, our break barely exists. I started my career teaching high school for 2 years before moving to middle school. Going back to high school isn't the answer for me. After 15 years in the same position, I'm at a crossroads. And to those I once judged for leaving, I owe you an apology. These days I find myself envying your courage more and more with each passing day. Story 10. Today left me questioning my actions as a relief teacher. After just a month in this role, I faced a situation that's still weighing on my mind. During the final minutes of my grade 8 class, a student started playing a life simulator game. It wasn't your typical classroom game. This text-based role-playing game included adult themes, sex, murder, and even a scene involving someone being stabbed in questionable places. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but I couldn't. That wouldn't have been appropriate. I tried to handle it carefully at first. When I spotted the game, I asked if it was appropriate for school. They insisted it was. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but after a second look, I knew better. This isn't appropriate for school, I told them. Please choose another game. They resisted. I repeated my request several times, but they either argued back or simply ignored me. With only 5 to 10 minutes left in the school day, I made a decision. Instead of escalating the situation, I took down their names to report later. I hesitated to disturb a senior teacher for something that would be over in mere minutes. Now, doubt creeps in. Should I have been firmer? Taken a stronger stance? True, it's probably a game they play regularly at home. But school is different. School has different rules, different standards. I can't shake this feeling that I should have stood my ground more firmly. Story 11. Let me start by saying I'm writing this as a parent, not an educator. My situation revolves around my 6th grade son, and I desperately need some teacher perspectives. The first quarter was incredible. My son, who has ADHD and faced various challenges in elementary school, surprised us all with fantastic grades, mostly A's and 1 B. His pride was obvious. He kept asking us if we were proud of his achievements. It was a beautiful thing to witness. Then came second quarter. Everything changed. Assignments aren't being turned in. When work does make it to his teachers, it's far below his capabilities. Yes, as parents, we shoulder some blame for not staying on top of things. But at this age, shouldn't there be some level of self-accountability? A little sink or swim? What baffles me most is his apparent lack of concern. He's such a bright, intelligent kid, but school simply doesn't spark any interest in him. Video games have captured all his attention and drive. We've implemented the natural consequence: no screens until grades improve. I'm requiring him to complete or redo all missing or poor quality work, even if it won't be graded. My philosophy is simple. The goal is learning the material, not just passing the class. Once he completes everything, he needs to approach his teachers about submitting work for better scores. And this brings me to my main question. Would it be appropriate for me to reach out to his teachers myself? I'm hesitant because I know middle school teachers juggle so many more students and responsibilities than elementary teachers do. I don't want to add to their workload or appear to be circumventing my son's accountability. But I also understand his shyness about discussing grades with teachers. In elementary school, I wouldn't think twice about reaching out. Now it almost feels forbidden. And if any teachers have advice about inspiring a middle schooler to actually care about learning, well, that would be an amazing bonus. Story 12. My student may have ADHD. How can I bring this up to the parents? As a recent medical graduate working as a private tutor in Europe, I've guided 11 students through their academic journeys over the past 4 years. My current situation involves a 9th grade student who's presenting some concerning patterns. This young woman transferred to a competitive school and struggles specifically with chemistry, though her other subjects remain strong with grades between 4 and 5 out of 5. While tutoring her, I've noticed several patterns that have sparked my professional concern. Her behavior shows consistent irregularities. Despite setting reminders 20 minutes in advance, she arrives 5 minutes late to every online session. Her homework submissions always come just 1 hour before our lessons, despite our agreement for an 8 p.m. deadline the previous evening. Even gentle reminders haven't changed this pattern. What truly concerns me is her difficulty with information retention. I can explain a concept, and within 5 minutes, she seems to have completely forgotten it. During one recent lesson, while I was explaining calculation steps for an upcoming test, she interrupted to ask when we'd start her homework. When we finally began solving problems, she couldn't apply the concepts we'd just covered. Her test performance tells a similar story. She recently shared that despite finding a test manageable, she only completed the first half, barely managing to rush through the second portion. Her score reflected this, around 60%. This isn't a case of simple laziness. I've worked with unmotivated students before, and her situation feels distinctly different. She genuinely tries. Her mother confirms she studies, though often resorting to last-minute cramming. The challenge lies in communication. Her mother, who tends toward helicopter parenting, already sends lengthy emails expressing frustration about her daughter's grades. She's beginning to wonder if her daughter simply can't grasp chemistry. More concerning, she's not fully supportive of her daughter's medical school aspirations. My track record speaks to my teaching ability. 10 out of 11 previous students achieved their first-choice universities or top exam scores. Regular check-ins and feedback sessions with my current student remain positive. Now I face a delicate situation. As a medical graduate, I recognize potential ADHD indicators, but I'm not a psychiatrist. I know early intervention could significantly benefit her, yet I worry about approaching her mother. With such a protective parent, suggesting any form of diagnosis might create more problems than solutions. I want to help my student succeed, but I need to find the right way to address these concerns without making her home situation more challenging. Story 13. Am I student teaching correctly? I'm approaching the end of my student teaching journey in 4th grade. The experience has been positive overall, but there's something weighing on my mind. My mentor teacher has been incredible. He brings 20 years of teaching experience to the table, though I'm his first student teacher. This is where things get complicated. Our placement coordinator hasn't been clear about our responsibilities or the timeline for classroom takeover. We created our own approach. The first 2 weeks, I observed. Then we implemented a gradual system. I took over 1/4 of the class responsibilities, slowly building up every few weeks. For the past 2 months, I've been leading most subjects: English language arts, social emotional learning, science, social studies, and managing transitions. Now, in these final 2.5 weeks before stepping back, I've finally taken on math instruction. The plan is to spend my last 2 weeks before graduation observing other classes and grade levels. My coordinator's only comment on this timeline was surprising. Nice job taking over those last 2 weeks. Not all student teachers decide to run the full day. This comment sparked my uncertainty. I keep hearing different stories from other student teachers, especially those in middle and high schools. They describe a much faster transition, just a week or 2 of observation, then immediate full classroom management with minimal mentor guidance. Don't misunderstand me. I've loved my experience. My mentor, who stays in the classroom, provides constant feedback and support, but a nagging doubt keeps surfacing. Was this too comfortable? Too gradual? Maybe it's just pre-graduation anxiety speaking, but I need to know, did we follow the right path? Have other student teachers experienced something similar to this gradual approach? Story 14. 2 years ago, I taught middle school. Well, almost 2 years. I was short by 1 month. When an opportunity arose to teach grades 2 and 3, I jumped at it. I was desperate for change, convinced nothing could be worse than my situation at the time. The signs seemed promising. Former students and teachers had always blamed that specific school for the problems. A major staff turnover appeared positive at first, but it backfired. The new teachers arrived already viewing the school as a joke, their motivation seemingly dead on arrival. Now, I'm drowning in regret. My new position brings different challenges. It's not the administration or staff causing problems. It's the overwhelming trauma our students carry through our doors. Too many high-needs children packed into one classroom. Even with 5 adults present, chaos reigns. The frightening part? I'm told my class isn't even considered particularly challenging. I knew teaching younger children would bring different behavioral challenges, but this exceeds all expectations. Teaching feels impossible when simply maintaining order consumes every moment. Today, a student struck me with a hammer, injuring my toe severely enough to keep me home for the rest of the week. There's a silver lining. The regular teacher returns in December, after recovering from serious surgeries. Her eagerness to return eases my guilt about leaving, though I worry about her physical safety given the restraints and interventions I've had to perform. My initial plan was to return to substitute teaching after Christmas break. It seemed appealing. Less paperwork, reduced drama, fewer traumatic situations. But now I'm hearing the substitute market isn't as robust this year. This concerns me deeply. I'm financially responsible for my father, and I might need to take in my nephew if his situation doesn't improve. Supporting 3 people on inconsistent substitute teaching income feels risky. Then fate intervened. While getting my injured toe examined, I ran into my former principal. His enthusiasm about my availability was surprising. He offered me my choice of positions, explaining that several new hires hadn't worked out. He's determined to bring me back, promising to make it happen. But there's a bitter note in his sudden flexibility. Last year, when I considered leaving, I wanted to switch to an open gym teacher position. He refused. Now he's bending over backward to accommodate me, but that specific opportunity remains off the table. His current eagerness feels almost insulting given that previous inflexibility. So here I stand at a crossroads. Return to a slightly better version of my old school? Risk the uncertain waters of substitute teaching? Or search for something entirely new? Story 15. Starting my teaching journey. At 20 years old, my dream of becoming a teacher burns bright, despite some early setbacks. My first attempt at college at 18 didn't go as planned. Unexpected challenges led to academic struggles and ultimately failure. While this experience has left me hesitant about returning to school, it hasn't diminished my passion for education. My current situation presents its own challenges. Living independently means managing all my expenses, rent, food, and daily necessities through my retail job. The thought of adding college costs to this tight budget feels overwhelming. Here in Maryland, I'm trying to navigate this path alone. I don't know anyone pursuing teaching or anyone who has faced similar circumstances. This isolation makes each decision feel more daunting, but I refuse to let these obstacles stop me. I know there must be a way forward, even if I can't see it clearly yet. I need guidance on several key points. First, I need help choosing the right educational path. Should I consider community college as a starting point? Are online programs a viable option? I'm open to exploring any avenue that could lead me toward my goal. Financial support is my next major concern. Surely there must be scholarships or grants designed for future educators? I'm willing to research and apply for any opportunities, but I need help knowing where to look. I'm also eager to gain experience in education, even without a degree. Is there a way to work in schools or educational settings now? Any exposure to teaching would be valuable as I work toward my goal. This may be a longer journey than I initially imagined, but I'm ready to take those first steps. I just need help finding the right path. Thank you for listening to these stories. Please comment below with your responses and thoughts. Thank you.